Hi everyone, this is Brittany Koppen, and this is my family tree. So I tried to go back as far as I could. So as you can see, I did make it 5 generations in the Sweeney side of the family, and I'll explain why. But the other sides didn't make it that far, but I still learned a whole lot. So hope you enjoy. So starting with myself, I graduated from UGA in 2013 with my Bachelor's of Science in Education for middle grades education, math and science. I'm currently a 6th grade math teacher, also pursuing my master's. I have no children, and I grew up as a military brat, so until I was 17, which meant that I got to move every 2 years, which was really cool. I was born in Newport News, Virginia in 1995, and I've always spoken English, although I would have loved to speak other languages, and maybe that'll happen down the road. My dad's name is Mark Allen Koppen. He got his Master's of Healthcare Administration and joined the Air Force. After about 24 years in the Air Force, he retired and is now the facility planner at the VA in Augusta. He had me and my sister with my mom, and he was born in Sacramento, California in 1960. How he ended up where he was he was also an Air Force child himself and then a husband, and he's always spoken English. My mom is Carrie Patricia Koppen, or formerly known as Carrie Patricia Sweeney. She got her bachelor's in nursing and was an RN for years before me and my sister were born. Then took a break, did the mom life, and now is back in the cardiac ICU as an RN. She does the night shift. Like I said, she had 2 children, me and my sister. She was also part of an Air Force family, so she was born in El Paso, Texas in 1960. And she was a child and a wife of the Air Force, and she spoke English as well. So moving to my dad's dad, my grandpa on my dad's side, his name is Eldridge Chester Koppen Jr. I call him Papa, but he's also known as Al Koppen. He got his master's degree, and he joined the Air Force as well. He was a pilot, and he worked on logistics. He had 3 children with my grandma, and 2 of them were adopted. My dad was the one that was not adopted. He was born in St. Paul, Minnesota in 1935. And how he got into the Air Force, which he explained to me on the phone, which was awesome, was he really had no idea that this was something he even wanted to do. But he joined an ROTC program. He got really interested in some of the flight courses and ended up being a pilot. And he told me that he's only spoken English. Now, my grandmother, on the other hand, she went to business college, and she got her business college degree and became an administrative assistant. She is an incredible typer, and she had 3 children. 2 were adopted, like I said. My dad was the one that was not. She was born in Watonga, Oklahoma, which is where all of the Edsels were and currently reside. She was born in 1932 and unfortunately passed away this year in 2018. Her family was always in Oklahoma. She's always spoken English, and one of the awesomest things is she was the fastest typer I ever met in my life, and she could type 80 words per minute. Now going down to my mom's dad and mom, Patrick James Sweeney, or Papa, Pat as I call him. He went through 4 years of college. He had 3 master's degrees and a doctorate. He too was in the Air Force and was a pilot, an engineer. And then after his Air Force career, he decided to be a professor, and so he taught engineering at the University of Dayton. He had 4 children with my grandma. 1 was my mom, and then 3 other sisters. He was born in Springfield, Ohio in 1936. His family has always been in Ohio, which is where we go back to now to visit all of my mom's side of the family, and he's always spoken English. Kay Frances Sweeney, or Kay Frances Tucker, is my grandmother. She had 3 years of college and became an educator, so that's always been really cool to know that I also joined the education field. She had 4 children, which one was my mom, of course, and then 3 other sisters. So she was born in Springfield, Ohio as well, was born in 1936, and passed away in 1998. Like my grandpa, she's always been in Ohio, and she's always spoken English. So moving to my dad's grandparents, we got a little information from my grandpa, which was great. So that was Eldridge Chester Koppen, Sr. He went to high school, no college education, but he did a lot of radio maintenance through the local radio station, airlines, and ships. And he had 2 children, which was my grandpa and then his brother, and he's always spoken English. What I thought was really cool was this up here that I noted was my grandpa told me this awesome story about how with all of his radio maintenance, he was working with a lot of different airlines. And so my grandpa remembered that when he'd go to Guatemala to drop off all of these supplies to the troops, he'd always bring home all these bananas. And then all the people in the neighborhood would get all these free bananas. So that was something that my grandpa always remembered that made him giggle. So, and my great grandmother's name is Mabel. She went to high school as well, but no college education. She was a housewife and a factory worker, and she had 2 children. Moving on to my grandmother's parents, that was Herbert Edsel and Esther Edsel. Both of them, the only information that my grandpa and I could get together was high school for both of them, no college, and they had 5 children, one of which was my grandma. So moving on to my mom's grandparents, on the Sweeney side, we had Bernard White Sweeney. High school, no college. He was an entrepreneur and a hotel manager, which the hotel still exists in Clearwater, Florida, which is really cool, and I've stated it before. He had 2 children, which was my grandpa and his brother, and he was born in 1908 and passed away in 1991. And my grandpa's mom was Dorothy Ann Sweeney. I absolutely love all these names. And she went to high school, but no college degree. She was a secretary in the Air Force, and 2 children. 1914 is when she was born, but the year was something I couldn't get. So, but I'm sure it was around the time of my great grandpa. So moving on to my grandma's side of the family, her dad was Frank Tucker. He had high school. He was a gas station owner and carnival game owner, which was really cool. He had 2 children, which was my grandma and her sister, and then Mary Catherine Tucker went to high school as well, no college. She was a stay-at-home mom with 2 children, and what my mom said about her when I talked to her on the phone was, man, Mary Catherine Tucker was one wicked card player. So that was really cool to hear. Moving on to the great-great-grandparents great-great-grandparents of mine, the 5th generation. That would be Patrick C. Sweeney. So as you can see, the Patrick name continued. He was born in 1884 and lived until 1955. He had 1 child and was into construction. Lenny, another name I absolutely love, E. Sweeney, she was known as Lenny E. White, was born in 1884 and lived till 1971. She had 1 child and she was a housewife. Then we moved to the Bolts family. Frederick E. Bolts was born in 1892 and lived until 1972. He had 1 child and had his own restaurant. And Josephine Bolts was born in 1891 and lived till 1969. She had 1 child and she was a housewife. And which is really cool, what I learned is I have some Irish descent and some German and Scandinavian descent, which I had no idea. So that was awesome to learn, and I hope you enjoyed my family tree. Thanks so much.